I would say socially, the Democratic Party wins the black vote because it closer aligns. Not exactly aligns. There are still some things like...
I just can't get over that they started the Ku Klux Klan. I can't get over that they're the slave party. The Democratic Party was the slave party.
Yes and no.
No, they started the Ku Klux Klan. They were the slave party.
But how it worked out was back in those days, the party switched.
Yeah, there was a switch.
So ideologically, the Democratic Party of then is closer to the Republican Party of today. And vice versa, the Republican Party of back then was closer, was the inverse.
I don't know.
And this is how, true. And how we know this is because some of the very first representatives, like black representatives after,
they were probably Republicans.
Were black. And they were Republicans.
Yeah, most likely.
And, so ultimately, yeah, like.
And none of the Democratic parties have helped black people. Most of their policies have not. Like they, and I'm older than you, so maybe I'm just an old head and I'm just saying some old bullshit that doesn't make no sense. But I don't think when I research it and I look into like them used to send people to black women's home to make sure their man is not in their home in order for them to get their check. Did you know that? They used to have home checks to make sure the man wasn't in the house.
Well, that was for welfare.
Yeah, but still.
Or no, I'm sorry, that was for Section 8 housing. That's Section 8 housing.
Why? That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. It should be the opposite. So we're going to try to get you out of there. We need to make sure everybody's there working.
So I just talked about this. So remember when I talked to you about how black men and black women have some things that we have to acknowledge?
Is that one of them?
So one of the ways that black women kind of went against black men. This is going to get me in trouble, but it is what it is.
It's okay.
Black women started embracing feminist ideology. Now, feminism, as it first started by white women because they wanted the right to vote. They had problems with their white husbands, their white counterparts, because they were treated much more as property. That has never really been the case for black men to black women because we've never had the power to legislate anything. We've never had that power. And our dynamic was a little different because black women always kind of worked alongside black men because we were disenfranchised. We needed the money, because opportunities were less from us. However, black women started taking in a lot of this feminist rhetoric, especially as we're getting into the second and third wave feminism, where it's kind of, pointing the finger at the man instead of the actual issues of pay, wages, voting rights, things like that, civil rights. And so black women started hearing a lot of these talking points and started saying, well, we don't really need our men, and our men are treating us like this, and our men are disenfranchising us. And that's not to say that black men didn't have their problems and were perfect. But these were talking points that white women had much more of their white counterparts than black women really had of their black counterparts. So then what they did is they started going to the government for welfare. Section 8 housing. Section 8 housing is terrible for the black community because, as you just said, those home checks where it's like, we're going to give you a house. We're going to essentially be your man. The government, that's what Section 8 did. It said, we are going to be your man. We're going to give you a house. We're going to pay your bills. We're going to give you money. But you can't have a black man in the house.
It's craziness.
So this disenfranchised black men. And part of the reason why that even happened in the first place was because black men were displaced, because what we had a lot of jobs in were in factory work. But then all the factory work was shipped out overseas. That's a Republican thing. So the Republican Party drastically took away the black.
Was that Reagan doing that? Was that Reagan?
I can't recall who, because
like
it was
Reagan.
A little bit before my time, but essentially you had, and it's and I don't want to say all Republican Party. It was spearheaded by the Republican Party. Democrats were, I'm sure, on board too.
Rich folk.
Yeah, rich folk. But that's in both parties.